Welcome to Retirement Decoded with your host, Scott Tucker, where we break down the complexities of retirement planning to give you clear, actionable advice. Whether you're just starting out or getting ready to retire, Scott's here to help you make informed decisions and secure your financial future. Tune in each week as we simplify the process and decode the path to a stress-free retirement. Now, here's your host, Scott Tucker.
Well, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to Retirement Decoded with Scott Tucker. I'm your host, Scott Tucker. My trusty podcast co-host, as most of the time, is Associate Advisor Andre Hootie. Say hello, Andre Hootie.
Hello, Andre Hootie.
Andre Hootie, we have a question from Betsy. And Betsy says, Scott, what is the average expense for medical coverage when Medicare is already available? So Betsy is 65 plus, is what that sounds like. Mm-hmm. And because you can be on Medicare before age 65 if you are disabled for 2 years. And then you can get Medicare before 65, but most of us have to wait till 65. And you have to actually, either you or your spouse had to actually work and pay taxes for 10 years. Every once in a while, Andre, we get folks who have always worked off the books, and then they want Medicare for free.
That or, I got this call a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. They just moved to the country a week ago, and they want Medicare.
A week ago?
It doesn't work.
Were they still at O'Hare?
I heard the plane's still taking off.
Longtime listeners will know that our practice is located in Chicago. We're federally licensed. We can help folks all across the country, all throughout the United States. But O'Hare, actually our office building, O'Hare Plaza, and O'Hare International Airport, about 7 minutes from the office. And so, were they calling you from Terminal 5, Andre?
Yeah, it sounded like
Andre,
it.
I just get to country. I want free Medicare.
That's basically how it sounded like.
Maybe they said I want free medical, but it sounded like I want free Medicare.
I mean, maybe it was a heavy accent.
It was a heavy accent.
It's not easy.
And longtime listeners will know that Andre came to this country from Ukraine when he was 3, and that wasn't last week. That was a long time ago. And so you're fluent in Ukrainian, you're conversational sort of in Russian, mm-hmm. and then you're fluent in English.
I am.
You sure you're fluent in English?
I thought so. Yeah, you tell me.
So do you recall what kind of accent they had?
I do not. It was something like Middle Eastern somewhere.
Okay.
But, hard to pinpoint.
We get everybody in Chicagoland. It's, having an international airport. Andre, international airport mean what it sound like. So the kids say it. And Chicago's a big destination for folks from all over the world if they're able to move to the United States. Chicago's a popular destination.
Or a giant melting pot.
Yep. Way more affordable than New York City. And something that is great about living in Chicagoland, though, you can get any kind of food you want delivered.
It's the best. There's neighborhoods for just about every ethnicity.
Well, there's neighborhoods for everything, but you can also just get on Grubhub or Uber Eats.
Yeah, that too.
And you can get, you want Vietnamese food? Here it is. Hey, you want Romanian food? Here it is. Or you can go to there's actually a Romanian restaurant. We met with a nice Ukrainian lady at the office the other day, and there's a I couldn't think of it when we were meeting with her, but Natalie and I have been to this restaurant. It's on Milwaukee in Chicago, and it's called Little Bucharest.
Okay, I've heard of it.
Yeah, a Romanian restaurant. I think it's still there. It used to be on Ashland. They moved it over on Milwaukee.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh. So you can get any kind of food you want here, but you may not be able to get free Medicare on day one.
Yeah, probably not. That's a big no.
We had a gentleman, we did a workshop on Social Security retirement, and that was in Des Plaines, Illinois, which is a northwest suburb of Chicago. And we had a gentleman show up who moved here from India. He never worked here. Mm. He was like 65, and he goes, so how do I get this Social Security? Yeah. I say, you start working. He goes, but I'm 65. I said, good, start today. Yeah. When you're 75, you'll qualify for Social Security and Medicare.
There you go. And that's
but you don't show up from India at age 65 and say, okay, put me into your system. And he finally, he kept arguing with me about how he wanted Social Security and he wanted all this stuff. And I said, sir, it's not a welfare program.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I don't want welfare. I'm like, wait a minute. You just showed up, you paid zero taxes, and you want he wanted to figure out how to get like $50,000 a year from Social Security.
Yeah, that's
unbelievable. I feel your pain. But he actually was able to come to this country because his brother and his brother's wife sponsored him.
Yeah.
As a family member.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he actually brought, this is kind of a whole crazy story, stuff we run into sometimes. He actually brought his brother and sister to the workshop. And I said, you start working now when you're 75, you'll qualify for Social Security or Medicare, and then it'd be less of a burden to your brother and his wife, whatever. Right. They're right there. Yeah. He kept telling me he wanted $50,000 a year in medical, and I'm like, that's not how it works. And then And his brother and wife, I finally turned to them. I go, listen, you sponsored him. You told our government you were going to house him, feed him, clothe him, pay for his medical. Guess what you get to do?
You get to
close him. And I love everybody, and I'm glad they're here. But you just don't get. It's like I wouldn't just move to India and say, "Hey, give me all your free stuff."
Yeah, seriously, that you don't get to just beat the system that way, cheat the system that way. It's like we work, and for some people like me, since second grade, I've been told I'm not getting Social Security. So where's mine? I got another 34
didn't you have,
years,
when you were in second grade, didn't you have a financial planner come talk to your class and say you're not getting Social Security?
Yeah, that was the first time I heard it. I've been saving since then.
And ever since then, you wanted to become a financial planner so you could be a dream killer.
Exactly. No. In all seriousness, I became a financial planner because I've done this really for my family a lot of times growing up. And so this comes naturally to me, the numbers and everything. So.
Yeah, when you came here from Ukraine at age 3 with your parents, and then your grandparents were only here a year before you guys, you were kind of became the first person to really learn English, and you get to be the junior business agent.
Yeah, exactly. Starting at like the age of 5, I was dealing with banks and mortgages and you name it.
You're like the little translator, negotiator, junior executive, little 5-year-old with a briefcase. Child labor laws be darned.
Yeah,
so Betsy says, Scott, what is the average expense for medical coverage when Medicare is already available? Well, so if you're saying that you want sort of like an Affordable Care Act plan, and let's say you're 65. Oh, there's a little wrinkle. Okay. So once you're 65, this actually throws a lot of people. It's a little unusual. What Medicare has done, for better or worse, since most people, we should say, qualify for Medicare at age 65, so long as they or their spouse have worked for 10 years or longer and paid payroll taxes and that. At age 65, there really is no health insurance market past age 65 because Medicare kind of squashed it. Now you could go pay for like a Christian Medicare type of plan for people over 65. You could kind of finagle something like that or pay cash as you go. That's scary, isn't it? So Betsy says, Scott, what's the average expense for medical coverage when Medicare is already available? Usually, health insurance is not available in the individual or family market once you turn 65. That's really crazy, isn't it? Now, if you're still employed, and this sounds like it might be more her situation, Andre, if she's still employed past age 65 and her work plan wants to offer her coverage within the group health insurance, that is available at 65 and beyond on a group health insurance plan through an employer. Although many employers now are saying, hey, we don't want you on our group health insurance because this is like $900, $1,000 a month. It's a lot of money. You can be on Medicare for a couple $100 a month and get great coverage. Well, if you're doing like a Medicare Advantage, if you want better than that, $400 a month. So you could be like in a Medicare supplement and Part B and all that, maybe all that stuff about $400 out the door. Your mileage may vary. And why should the employer pay $1,000 a month? So some employers are even figuring out some kind of a stipend type of arrangement. And they have to be careful how they do that. So it's all legal and legit. This isn't the HR health insurance show, but yeah. So Betsy says, what's the average expense for medical coverage when Medicare is already available? $900,000 a month. Not uncommon.
Yeah, if you're in good health
in Chicagoland. Yeah. Yeah, because then there's no more Affordable Care Act past age 65. So now you're subject to medical underwriting unless you're on a group plan.
Right. And it's, at 65, who doesn't have a problem here or there?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
All your parts. And then Betsy says, Scott, how much do people pay for 20% medical coverage? She's saying, well, what a lot of people do is it sounds like you're 65 plus and you're still working and you have group health insurance, I think. And then you might be using Medicare as a secondary payer, maybe to fill the gap of the maybe 20% co-insurance on the health insurance. It's really advanced question or confusing question because we don't have the whole question.
Yeah.
So, Betsy, if you want to get on our phone calendar, Andre and I are both licensed for health insurance in the state of Illinois. We can also become licensed in whatever other state you want. We also have a full-time Medicare broker as well. Now, if you want to talk about Medicare, you can just go to tuckermedicare.com. At tuckermedicare.com, there's a little brief little form you fill out, and our Medicare broker will get back a hold of you and figure out what's best in your zip code and your state and all that kind of stuff. Andre, you and I focus on financial planning. We're knowledgeable and licensed for health insurance in Illinois. where we just can't spend all our time on health insurance.
Yeah, no, it takes a little bit longer to do the health insurance and all that underwriting. And, if that's what we did all day, we wouldn't be able to help people with their retirements.
Mm-hmm. So there are on the Affordable Care Act, of course, and I know what you meant when you said underwriting, but just for the listener, might be confused. Affordable Care Act plans under age 65, there's no health questions. So there's no medical underwriting. There can be financial underwriting if you're looking to get a subsidy in that. Now, be careful with subsidies, because if you did something like a Roth conversion, you could have to pay back the subsidy. There's just a whole lot there. Whenever the government gives you something with one hand, they can take with another. So we have a health insurance broker we work with for people who are not 65 yet. If you're already 65 or approaching age 65, then just go to tuckermedicare.com, and we have a full-time Medicare broker that'll sort through all the plan options for you. What's really crazy, Andre, is there are Medicare Advantage and Medicare drug cards that are available in one zip code that are not available in the next zip code over.
Yeah, and what most people don't even know is that even the one that you have, it's not guaranteed to be available next year.
Yeah, every fall, October 15th starts the open enrollment period for Medicare. So did I say April?
No, you said October.
October. Oh, boy. I'll tell you what. Every October 15th, open enrollment starts for Medicare. And you might remember if you're old enough, if you're older than me, you probably know this. I'm 51. Pearl Harbor Day. That's another way to remember the last day of open enrollment for Medicare each year is December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. So every October 15th to December 7th, you should be shopping, if nothing else, your prescription drug plan. You might also want to make sure your doctor too. So your doctor, if you have something like, say you have like a Medicare Advantage where you have a doctor's network, your doctor might be in the network in October, November, December, but January 1st, your doctor might be out of network. So you might want to, every October 15th, check to make sure your providers are still going to be in your network. Also, your drug formulary, your Part D drug plan, that can change every January 1st, but you have to check that out on October 15th to December 7th. Because if you don't, you could be caught unawares. You could get all the way to January 1st, and the expensive medication you might need may no longer be included in your formulary for your drug card. Yeah. So, nobody tells you this stuff in school, do they, Andre?
No, not at all. And this is something that's a lot of people don't really think about, because it just I guess it's not something you really think about. But I've talked to some people recently that are saying that the doctor's leaving or retiring. And I was thinking about it the other day, and a lot of the doctors, right? They're older. They're getting into their retirement age where we have the baby boomer generation, and you have this mass exodus of people. Your doctor, they may not be in the network next year, and you might need to find a whole new one.
Do you remember that? I don't mean this to sound political either, but do you remember that whole, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. You like your doctor, you keep your doctor. Mm-hmm. When right before the Affordable Care Act passed, I had I was paying $100 and some a month, and I was younger than I am now. But I got to pull out the podcast calculator. I have a weird thing. I'm a financial planner, but I can't talk and do math at the same time.
I mean, that's hard.
Is it a different part of the brain, Andre?
Well, it's like you're trying to think about something in your head.
Walk and chew gum?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. When I was, so the Affordable Care Act, I believe, passed in 2010. I was 37. My health insurance then was $100 or $110 a month. Now I'm 51. My health insurance is $525 per month.
Talk about inflation.
Yeah. You're not even 30 yet, Andre. Your health insurance on our group plan is over $300 a month.
Oh my God.
Are you worth it?
I don't think so.
But hey, you just got married recently, and I know Lauren's not on our group health insurance. She gets it through her employer. Mm-hmm. But Andre, I believe you are covered for maternity. So if you get pregnant,
perfect.
I mean, if you get pregnant,
awesome.
Yeah, and your pap smears are covered too.
Okay, perfect. So
all your parts all the time.
Nice. Okay. Well, no complaints here then, I guess. I'm covered.
You're going to call me from the doctor's office saying, they said that's not for me.
I thought you told me it was.
It's one of those things. When I was in the Navy, longtime listeners will know I was in the Navy for 5 years after high school. I was a Navy cryptologist or code breaker. And one of the things, I was stationed in Edzell, Scotland for some time. There used to be, it was a Royal Air Force base. It had 2 runways and no aircraft.
Interesting.
And it was leased by the U.S. Navy, although it was landlocked. And we had sailors, Marines, airmen, and soldiers. And we had all kinds of antennae and what they call radomes, satellite dishes and stuff. Yep. And so that's all I can tell you about that. And then there's a lot more than that, just declassified, but that's enough for you to know for right now. But we get a new guy from school in the States, like from one of the Navy calls it an A school usually, or there's also C schools, the letter A, the letter C. So A school, C school, it's a whole long story. Or the Army would call it advanced individual training or whatever. It's when you learn your job. You learn how to be a cryptologist, whatever. So they'd ship the new guy over, and then somebody would say, hey, can you go to 32 Division and ask them if we can borrow their bicircular hole generator.
What?
Seaman Hootie, we need you to go to 32 Division. Ask them if 50 Department, if we can borrow their bicircular void generator.
Well, naturally, I don't know what that is, so I'm not questioning that. I'm going.
Do you want to write it down?
Yeah, let me.
So we usually wouldn't write stuff down because you don't want to have any classified information. So I guess they wouldn't let you write it down either. That's something else because it could be from the notepad, and it could be you could.
Did you have to eat it?
You got to burn it. We had an incinerator room. We had to burn all that stuff.
What if you get stopped on the way? You can get to the incinerator room.
Well, we had these secure spaces in the passageways of the building. I think it was the 300 building, the operations building. They had to number all the buildings for some reason because it's the military. And so we had the passageways that everything was like key cards and cipher locks and all that stuff to get in these spaces, and you were only allowed in the spaces you had to be in, not somebody else's space, all that stuff. But in 50 Department Communications, we'd send you to like 32 Division, which was HFDF, high frequency direction finding. And so, Andre, I want you to go to 32 Division at HFDF and ask them if we can borrow their bicircular void generator. Do you know what that is? I
have no idea.
So Seaman Andre goes next door and he goes, yeah, I'm Seaman Andre. Seaman Hootie, rather, your last name. Seaman Hootie. I'm from 50 Department, and Petty Officer so-and-so, say Petty Officer Schweitzer, he'd pull something like this. Steve Schweitzer, if you're listening, TuckerRetirement.com. And so Seaman Hootie goes over to 32 Division HFDF. That's where my friend Roger works. I've told you about Roger sometimes. And you say, I'm Seaman Hootie. I'm from 50 Department, and Petty Officer Schweitzer sent me over here. You want to know, can we borrow your bicircular void generator? You know what they would hand you?
No.
A 2-hole punch.
Oh, my God.
If you're in the Navy, you probably saw that coming a mile away if you were doing any kind of paperwork. Yeah, so a 2-hole punch. That's a bicircular void generator.
Oh, that's funny.
And then, or they just send you on random things like that.
Is that what you did to me that first week when we were here?
What'd I do?
I went to go get lunch from the cafeteria. You told me to pay some funny way, and I go up there, and I'm like, and I forgot what you said, but you're like, just whatever you told me. I went up there, and he's like, yeah, dude, I think he's pulling your leg. We don't do that here.
What'd I tell you?
Oh, you were like, just tell them to put it on the company account or something,
Well, we used to have, and it was under new management or something. They used to have our company credit card on file,
okay.
And you could just put it on my tab, whatever. Did you do that? And they said,
he looks at me, he goes, yeah, we've never done that. I don't know.
Well, there's a new manager of the
that makes sense.
the food thingy at the office.
I always thought you were just trying to, mess with me a little bit on day one.
No, they used to at the one place, and now that got taken over. They refurbished that restaurant right after COVID. Now they have a new operator there, and then that same operator runs the other restaurant.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So you could ask them, you could go over there with the company credit card, and get lunch, and then maybe have them store. They used to store it where I tell them and they put it on my tab. And while you're at it, you could ask them for if you could borrow their bicircular void generator.
Next time I'm over there, I'm going to ask them.
Yeah, something else.
Bicircular void generator.
Bicircular void generator. So Betsy, the average expenses for medical coverage when Medicare is already available. So it sounds like you're 65. And that's usually $900 to $1,000 a month through a group plan because there's no 65 plus. There isn't really no private market. You could do a Christian Medicare thing maybe for $400 a month or something like that. We see that kind of thing around. Betsy, if you want to get on our phone calendar, talk about it. TuckerRetirement.com, or if you want to talk about Medicare specifically, go to TuckerMedicare.com, and we'll get on the horn with you and we'll figure it out. We'll put you in touch with our Medicare broker and we'll figure all that stuff out. Well, you've listened to you've wasted a perfectly good maybe 20 minutes or so listening to the ramblings of a short bald man, Scott Tucker. This has been the Retirement Decoded podcast with Scott Tucker and my sidekick, Andre Hootie. and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. has a strategic partnership with tax professionals and attorneys who can provide tax and/or legal advice. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions. A Roth conversion is a taxable event and may have several tax-related consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. The views and opinions herein are those of Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of AE Wealth Management, LLC. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. are not subject to investment advisory requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this podcast shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc.